Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into the best damn pod in the land. I'm your host, Chad Stryker. With me, as always, Dan Divjak. Before we even get into the show, I have reminded myself, like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, punch the like button, whatever you kids do these days. Make it happen. Our subscriptions have really taken off, so we appreciate you guys. And I know that we've had a lot of requests to put out more content. Dan and I are doing the best we can right now. We both have like real world jobs. We are, we've talked about trying to do a little more, but right now it's Tuesdays and Fridays. So look for us every Tuesday and Friday. And even when I'm traveling or Dan's traveling, we try to make it happen. So Dan, Buckeye Friday, not a real one. No game tomorrow. No football for the next few weeks. How are you?
I'm good, man. Got a big weekend ahead of us in the household. Avery and I are going to go to the Preds game tonight. They stayed alive the other night. They should be up 3-2. Now they're down 3-2, but game 6 at home, see what can happen. And then I got some tickets for her and Emily to go see Morgan Wallen
Ooh.
here in Nashville tomorrow. Tomorrow night. It'll be his third show in a row, 3 nights in a row. So they're excited about that. And
He's a newer artist to me, but I have listened to a couple of his songs. I think, I want to say, like, does he do the song "Buy Dirt"? Is that
I can't. He's got a
okay?
song called Broadway Girls, and that's all that I know. I'm not.
Okay, Broadway Girls.
I do know that he just got arrested and had 3 felony counts
Yeah.
for throwing a
Are,
chair off the roof at a Nashville bar.
yeah. Are you a Broadway girl? Just no.
No.
All right. So into the show we go. Thanks for listening again. Appreciate you guys. Portal is officially closed. Are you surprised by any of the departures? I wasn't, but are you surprised by anybody?
No, I'm surprised some didn't come sooner. Like Enoch.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean we've already hashed out the Dallin situation. The more that Dion loses it online, the worse I feel for Dallin. And I'm wondering, like, is his paperwork already signed? Is he committed? Like, can you reverse that? Can you get released from it? I just feel bad for him, man. That has turned into an absolute dumpster fire. I don't know if you paid attention to what's been going on
Oh
online.
yeah, I've watched it, and it all started with his son, right? The whole thing.
It all started, man. And I got to tell you, and I know this isn't Buckeye stuff, but it's college football stuff. If I was an NFL GM, I would not have the kid on my board. He would be
Mm.
off my board. I want nothing at all to do with him or his old man. I've lost so much respect for Dion and the way that they're handling themselves online right now, and basically, calling kids trash and stuff like that, and just getting involved with trolls. It's a horrible look. It almost makes me wonder if he's trying to get fired after this year.
So there is there's that old adage in Hollywood. No attention is bad. Like there's no such thing as bad attention or bad press because you're in the news, and that's what Dion wants to be. So Colorado. I mean, we'll take it back to the early '90s. They had a decent run with Cordell Stewart. They were kind of good sometimes, off and on through the '80s and '90s, but um, you know, it's same as Nebraska. It's tough to get kids to want to fly to the middle of nowhere to play football when you have towns like Columbus and even Gainesville. When Florida had their run, there's stuff to do. It's tough to get USC's another one. The beach, Texas. I mean, there are college football towns, and I don't feel like Boulder is one of them. And I like. I mean, I have friends that are Nebraska fans that became Nebraska fans in the '80s because of those teams that they had, and but the days of I know plane travel makes it easier, but the days of kids wanting to go play in the snow for 6 months, because of the Big Red Machine or whatever they called themselves, it's over. And so he has to do something to stay relevant. And I get it that I don't really. I don't like the way he's doing things. I don't think he should be doing what he's doing. Um, but I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't like interacting with trolls on Twitter, and I don't do it. So I would hope that my coach wouldn't. But it's all his own decision. He's a grown man. He can do what he
Well,
wants.
he needs to start acting like it because he's acting like a petulant brat right now, and
Yeah,
he's acting like a punk, and I think it's a bad look. I think it's a bad look for him. I think it's a bad look for the school. I think it's a bad look for college football. I just think he's a joke,
yeah,
and it hurts me to say that, man, because I really enjoyed him when he was, on the NFL Network, and then obviously as a player, I enjoyed watching him and have mad respect for what he accomplished on the field, and to some extent what he accomplished off the field before he got into coaching. But he's just he's a turd, man.
yeah. Well, I think I'll answer the question for me if anything surprised me. That anybody leaving surprised me, and it really didn't. Like you said, I think that Enoch, Keon, those guys, I thought maybe would have entered a little sooner. When Enoch jumped into portal, and then like within minutes, I feel like that Bruno kid from UCLA jumped into portal. I thought there would be a correlation, but it doesn't feel like there is. Given that some of the breakdown that you and I and Chuck have talked about with his inability to pass block, he doesn't really feel like a good fit. So that leads me to my question: do you feel like there's anybody that we could have made a move for but didn't? And I caveat this by saying there was an extra day for grad transfers to get in the portal, and I also know that technically they have 48 hours after the portal closes if they've started the proper paperwork to get in the portal. So until about noon today, kids can kind of still get in the portal. Well, you can go in the portal anytime, but not be available. They wouldn't be available to a team. So um, is there anybody you thought maybe we should have taken a flyer on that? Or
I mean,
I didn't think so.
maybe some depth pieces. I mean, there's certainly nobody starter quality out there unless I don't know. I mean, we've talked about the fact that we think the receiver room is shallow, but the depth there is a little bit of concern. One or two guys go down, and we're suddenly there's a concern from experience. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. But do you go out and get an Evan Stewart who's a legit starter? I don't think that's the right move for that
Mm-mm.
room. Safety room, there's some rumors out there that the Matthews kid from A&M that we've reached out to him. I think I think that room's a little light. I think we got 5, and Knowles likes to carry 8.
Yeah.
So, but he's a two deep guy at the very worst, if not a starter.
Well, can I
Um,
ask you while we're on that train of thought about Matthews? You and I have postulated this before, and the only thing that makes sense to me is they're concerned about Lathan Ransom being fully ready with his mystery foot injury.
it's not a
I mean,
mystery foot injury anymore.
huh?
It's not a mystery foot injury anymore. Bobby Carpenter, on his interview with him the other day, he said it's the Liz Frank injury,
Oh,
which worries me.
yeah, that's hard to
And
come back
I
from.
didn't
It
expect him to
recurs a
bring it
lot.
up, and you reminded me to talk about that. Um, that that's something that can rear its head throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't go and get him. Um, but I don't know. I mean, there is nothing in the portal, in the spring portal. I think somebody referred to it online, and Chuck talked about it, where it was like the spring portal has become trading backups, right?
Seems like it.
It's just all about depth, and
Yeah.
there just wasn't anything out there. There certainly wasn't a starting offensive lineman out there for us like there was last year. And people forget that Josh Simmons didn't come in until the summer,
Right.
and he came in the summer and switched his natural position and struggled early on, but really
Mm-hmm.
came on. And I think this year he's a dark horse All-American candidate for me.
Mm.
So it's not obscene to think that you can get somebody in the spring, but there was nobody in there that excited me.
Yeah, I get it. So I'm with you. I feel the same way. The Matthews kid would be an interesting one. That I I am curious about and I forgot about the Bobby Carpenter interview. I did listen to that. And I am curious about that, the Matthews kid, and um, he would play in rotation too. So like, it's not like he wouldn't get to play. And then, does Jordan Hancock take 100% of the snaps at nickel safety? There's some stuff there. There's some playing time there for sure. So, but you brought up the wide receivers, so that helps us get into our next part of the series we're doing. So is there any position group that you felt was a little bit light coming out of spring, where we could have really used another guy to contribute now and not like in 2 years? So you mentioned the wide receivers. I agree with you. Can you break that down for me? Like, what's your rotation right now for the wide receivers? Like 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 in no particular order are, you know, J.J. Smith, Emeka, and Carnell, and then I think Innis and Rogers are right behind him. And after that, man, it starts to get questionable. I know, you know, you're gonna promote Ballard, but I mean, I don't have faith in him, man. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
other than running a fly route,
Yeah.
you know. But I mean, if you really think about it, after the first five, it gets really iffy.
Well, Mylan Graham's coming in this summer too, correct?
Mylan Graham's coming in, but he's a true freshman.
Yeah.
I hope to see him contribute on special teams. And then you know, they're talking about Witten coming in and being in the wide receiver room to start.
Hmm.
I think that's a strong indication as to what we're talking about here is that the depth is an issue there. And you
Okay.
wouldn't think it because of what that room's done and how productive it's been, but when you start breaking it down, the wide receiver room is really, really thin. But aside from that, you know, I would take a tight end starter today. It just wasn't
So
enough.
yeah, I was going to ask too while we're on the wide receivers. Was it Kojo Antwi that went in the portal and not Keon Graves?
No, it was Graves.
Okay.
Yeah, Kojo's still around.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he's a New Jersey kid, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm scrolling the roster, um, and Graves was still on the official roster, so I was just
Well, he's in the
curious.
portal. He hasn't committed anywhere. There's
Yeah.
nothing,
Okay. Fair enough.
you know.
So
I
Reese
mean,
is still there. Restock still there.
now you've got some.
Yeah. So Antwi's not on the roster though. That's what's so weird.
Mm,
I don't
interesting.
see him. Oh well. Well, continue with your thought on the tight ends. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying I would take
Oh,
a
he is.
starter.
He is. Here he is. I found him.
I would take a starter in the tight end room today. There's just not one out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Um, I agree with you. Uh, so I want to run something by you, but I'll let you finish your thought.
No, no, that's it. I know you've got some intel on the wide receiver room, so I'm excited to
I
hear it.
do. I do. Well, the one question I was going to ask you about the tight end room is, do you think that they could roll this back to be like the Rucker Chase Farrell room where, Will Kazmarek, we're not asking him to catch 20 balls, but we could allow G. Scott to do it a la Jeremy Rucker and then use Kazmarek if he bulks up and can prove that he can block at this level, or Christian Bennett, uh, the way they used, Farrell and Rucker. And so, and I'm wondering this too. Chip likes to use the running backs in the passing game. So, and Emek is healthy, and we have a true slot receiver. So some of the way we use Cade Stover was due to wide receiver health and not having somebody down the middle, and then not having a great pass catcher out of the backfield like J.K. Dobbins. So do 5 to 10 of those catches get moved elsewhere, and so you're only asking G. Scott or Will Kazmarek to catch 15 or 20 balls. I feel a lot better with that than I do with the 40 or 50 targets that Cade Stover got. So I mean, am I way out of line here? I feel like that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, and I think you're onto something. I do think that Trey's a very underrated receiver out of the backfield. He just hasn't been used that way. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm less concerned about targets for the tight ends and more concerned about the blocking.
Okay.
You know, because Kesmerick is not he 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 was he's a pass catching tight end. I think a lot of people assumed he was going to be a blocking tight end, but when you think about it, we lost Cade, so for them to go out and get a pass catching tight end is a little bit
Yep.
more, you know. And then of course there's the $1 million question with Jelani. You know, is he going to get developed and is he going to catch on to handle his responsibilities so that he can be involved?
Right. Um, I get it. So,
I think a lot of the stigma, Chad, that's hanging over the tight end room for me is because of who's in charge of it. I'm just not a Keenan guy.
all the kids love Coach Key.
I'm not, man. I think he should have been gone as soon as he got his ass kicked in the weight room by a strength coach.
Okay.
I think he should have been dismissed immediately.
So I had a juicy nugget for you that I text you. So I have a little intel that comes from firsthand knowledge that um, I ran into somebody and had a little short conversation. And Brian Hartline was looking for another receiver in the portal. So that's why they did contact that. I can't remember his name now, but
Ford from UCLA.
Ford, yeah. So there was real interest because we talked about being a little light in the wide receiver room, to add maybe that fourth or fifth option, so that we can go five wide and just run streaks down the field. So everybody run go routes, and then we'll do a quarterback power.
That's
But
okay.
in
We
all
know what we're
sincerity,
talking about.
yeah, I did have some intel that it is real. They were very interested in adding another wide receiver to that group. So
Yeah,
for what it's worth,
it's almost like we know what we're talking about.
maybe just a little bit, yeah.
Let's not talk about
So
the 2012 team though, because we're idiots.
yeah, we
Um,
don't know. We don't know. Apparently, we don't know football. So, my group and I'm sure you will agree with this. It's not even a question. My second group, besides wide receiver, was offensive tackle. And so, if Fryer or Simmons gets rolled up on, we are in a world of hurt. I'm just telling you. Like I haven't seen Tegra at tackle. I'm not. I mean, is it Luke Montgomery at right tackle?
yeah,
What Are we playing two tight ends over there? I don't know.
yeah. Taiwan Malone.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, now we're just being silly. Yeah. No, I mean depth is a concern,
Yeah,
and I mean you've heard me bang the drum that some of the parts is more can be more successful than the parts themselves, and it's never more true than it is with the offensive line. But yeah, if you like to your point, I gotta be honest with you, I haven't thought about that. If Fryer or Simmons or both went down, yeah, it could derail the entire season.
yep. That was why when I was looking at position groups, I went, oh, we haven't talked about this at all. We've been focused on tight ends and all these. And
Yeah.
man, if one of our tackles goes down, I'm
You
not
know,
supremely confident. Especially, I mean, could you imagine if Simmons went down? So that I think they'd probably move Fryer over there and then play somebody else at right tackle. But whew,
yeah. It's one of those things too, though, is that you never know who's going to step up, right?
yeah,
And when you're all of a sudden told, "Hey, you're the guy." Um,
li-
also, in Chip we trust. I mean, he was top 5 in the country rushing at
yep,
UCLA, and his line was, for all intent and purposes, his line was trash. I think there's 2 or 3 of those guys that came out in the portal between the fall and the spring, and we
yeah.
didn't sniff any of them.
Was I mean, some of that scheme too. The way he schemes everything up. It's not, So yes, very true. All right, so. And I know probably every podcast on the planet that does Ohio State football asks this question, but I am not surprised. I don't know if you're a little bit surprised, but all five quarterbacks stayed. Um, you know, I personally I was like, okay, cool. let's run, because I feel like Aaron Nolan is going to redshirt. Um, they have the opportunity to rotate 4 guys then with Dev, Will, and Lincoln and Julian. And I mean, when Julian becomes the starter the second game of the season, uh, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I think Aaron Nolan will redshirt, and that's my take. And and honestly, coming in as a true freshman, where Julian saying probably maybe could have went somewhere um, with a lesser pedigree at quarterback and started maybe, but where. I mean, why would you transfer as a true freshman? I think the one that we all looked at and circled was Lincoln Keenholz, and it was because of all the rumors about Iowa and Wisconsin and stuff. But um, why would you go to Iowa where quarterbacks go to die? And I think their quarterbacks coach is like 70 years old and been with the program for like 10 years and has done nothing with them. It's another Brian Ferentz situation. So why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? When you can be here, get coached up by the best of the best, and hopefully see some playing time late in games, and get yourself bigger, faster, stronger with our nutrition program. I didn't see it. It was hard for me. Now
And
the
get
Will
paid
Howard thing, if
by
Devin Brown,
doing it,
what's that?
and get paid by Abercrombie while you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Now the Will Howard thing, 5th-year senior, if you're not going to start, and it's going to be Dev's job, and you want to get into the NFL and get drafted. I'm not saying that's impossible that he couldn't get drafted, but maybe he felt like it was time to go. But I don't. Why? Why would
No,
Lincoln leave? It doesn't make sense.
yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. So I'll start from the bottom, work my way up. Not only do I think Air is going to redshirt, I think Julian Sane will redshirt.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't think there's a reason to play him in more than 4 games this year. And to clarify, conference championships and playoffs don't count towards the 4. So that was another thing with Dallin. If you remember in the Missouri game, it's like, why
Hmm.
did Dallin play in the Missouri game? It doesn't count towards his 4 for his redshirt year. But I mean, I will not be shocked. You heard it here first that Julian Sane will redshirt this year. There's no reason to play him in more than 4 games unless there's an injury.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get him reps for next year. But Ryan has zero track record of doing that. And I don't think he's going to start this year when you've got Will and Devin there. Right? I think he's going to do everything he can at the beginning of the year to keep whoever number 2 is happy
Hmm.
and involved. But to your point, yeah, I mean, Lincoln is so raw, he's not going to go and start somewhere else. So you
This
have
was his first spring.
it was his first spring, yeah, exactly. He's not going to go and start anywhere else. Neither is Julian, neither is Air, no matter how, hyped up people are about them. There's not maybe we'll go through and look at who the starting quarterbacks are at the beginning of the year and see how many of them are true freshmen in every level, every game, every team. It's going to be a minuscule number of people that will be true freshmen starting at quarterback in college
Hmm.
at the FBS level.
Yeah.
It just very rarely happens, let alone at premier programs. Yeah, so stay and get developed for another year by Chip Kelly and Ryan Day.
Yep.
It's a no brainer. You can leave in the fall. Now,
So, yep, I agree with you.
the one thing I haven't told you about though, you know, some of these other podcasts. Somebody was on the air last night and said that, um, they may, or in my opinion, it was a backhanded comment towards Devin in saying that, well, he didn't really have any options to leave. His only option was Iowa, and why would you go to Iowa? And I got information last night that there were no less than 6 interested teams that had money attached to their interest for Devin.
Mm.
I don't know who the teams are. I think 2 of them were LSU and Notre Dame. I'd heard those a while ago. I don't know who the other 4 would be. One of them might have been Iowa. Who knows? But the reason I'm sharing that is that it just tells me that the competition is still open between him and Will. Because I have no doubt that Will probably got some calls too.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't been named the starter. It's your last year. We'll guarantee it. We'll match the money. Come play for us, right?
Yep.
I think the competition's still wide open, and that was my takeaway from that when I heard that there were six interested parties or teams with money attached to their interest, and he didn't bite.
Okay.
So that tells me the competition's wide open, and that he thinks that it's his for the taking. And I'm sure Will thinks the same thing.
Yeah. So I don't want to. This may be a little soapboxy, Dan, but I don't want us to get in the position at Ohio State that we have this expectation that every quarterback that comes in is going to be 3 and done. That they're going to be CJ Stroud or Justin Fields or even Dwayne Haskins, because Dwayne Haskins, when he beat Michigan the first time when he came in for JT Barrett, was a redshirt freshman,
True.
and he was technically 3 and done. And I don't want to put us in that position, because we're saying after 2 years, if a guy's been in the system for 2 years, we're forcing him out because we're saying they're not any good. Some guys just take longer to develop. Some guys come in the summer. I mean, goodness, look at Joe Burrow. Even his first year at LSU, he wasn't lights out. He had a okay year, but his fifth year, senior year, after he went 3 at Ohio State and got his degree, transferred to LSU, grad transfer. Fourth year, senior, not so great. Okay, he did okay, but then he wins a natty the next year. I don't want to put that on these kids. I think about my son, and we chatted about this last night, and he this is his third year in baseball. Last year he did okay. His first year he was not very good. And then this year, the first game out, he's 3 for 3 with a couple dingers, and having a great, and he's having a blast, and everything clicked, and so that can happen. And you mentioned, and we talked about this too, the level of competition for Lincoln Keenholz in South Dakota, not great, not great. It's not Ohio, it's not Florida, it's not Georgia or Texas. I'm naming the football, and there's a reason that Michigan recruits Ohio so hard, because Ohio has great football athletes. It's the reason we go to Florida and Georgia and Texas and California's, okay, some of the schools. But I don't want us to get in this position where we're saying after 2 years, well, this kid's got to go. He's not cutting it. It's bullshit. And every kid develops at their own rate. And why not hang out and get coached up by Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and these guys that are like quarterback whisperers? And there's a reason elite quarterbacks want to come play for Ryan Day. Just saying. That was my soapbox. I got mad about it last night when I was thinking about things. So
Yeah, it's just the world we live in now with the transfer portal, right? Like
yeah,
we wouldn't have had this conversation 5 years ago.
no,
Joe Burrow transferred because he graduated.
yep,
That was the only way for him to transfer without having to sit out back then. So yeah, no, I don't. I mean, when you start putting together the board as it stands now and as it's looking over the next few years as far as who we're recruiting, um, it doesn't set up for a bunch of 2 and 3 and dones.
mm-mm.
It doesn't. And those I think those were some very special exceptions. I mean, looking back on it, Dwayne probably shouldn't have gone.
No, he should have stayed one more year.
He capitalized on the money, but you know what? If Dwayne stays another year, who do we miss out on?
Justin Fields.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
So it and then wow. I mean, after
yeah,
that, CJ would have been the true freshman.
yeah. So let's play a little game. You are starting for Ohio State. You just threw 50 touchdowns in a season. You're an assured first round pick. NIL wasn't available yet. You know, It's really hard. It would be really hard. If I'm Dwayne Haskins, it's really hard to not make that jump after the season I just had. I just hung 62 on my arch rival on national TV. That, I mean, we can all sit back and say, yes, maturity wise, maybe he should have stayed. No, like, I don't want to be offensive because, RIP Dwayne, but, yeah, then we miss out on Justin Fields and the elite talent that is Justin Fields. So it all worked out how it should. But you have to remember, too, and I talk about this a lot with people, that, we had JT Barrett and Dwayne Haskins. And then for who was it was Chugginoff that backed up. So there was no competition with Justin Fields, and then
Competition went into the middle of August. Remember
yeah,
Advanced Grind Day.
sure did. Yeah, I believe that about as far as I can throw you, Dan. So
I'm racking my brain right now. Who I know we didn't make the playoffs with Dwayne. Who did we play in the bowl game that year? And did he play or did he opt out?
oh shit.
Was that Washington?
Yeah, it was Washington, and we won, and he did play.
Okay, I remember that now.
Yeah. It was actually, they got out. I think Ohio State got out to kind of a big lead, and then they just let out the gas, if I remember right.
It was the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about our favorite topic of quarterbacks for the last 10 minutes. So now we get to have a little fun, and I get to poke fun at Michigan. So Marquise Davis, the sure lock to Michigan. We got Tony Alford. He's the best recruiter on the planet, and he's going to take all your guys, and we're going to laugh at you. Marquise Davis just put a little pin in that and said, I'm going to go to Kentucky instead of Michigan. And I'll let you take it from there, Dan. It's low hanging fruit, man.
Oh, but there's more. So not only do they lose out on Marquise Davis, but they all start talking about the fact that Bo Jackson is now at the top of their pecking order and that they're going to get him on campus for a visit and this and that. And then lo and behold, within hours of people starting to talk about Bo Jackson being their next target, he announces his three officials are Bama, Ohio State, and Georgia.
Shocker.
So welcome to the Tony all fraud era.
Yep.
Friends.
Well, I mean, any high school kid that's paid any little bit of attention, I have a feeling they know that that thing the NIL isn't good in Michigan. Ann Arbor is terrible. They already have one situation with some coaches with show cause. We don't know what's going to happen with the other one. There's just a lot of negativity around the university itself, I feel like. And so kids today they're all on social media. And so yeah, but the Bo Jackson thing was funny. But my question is, and I'm questioning this again, why are you coming into Ohio to try to get Ohio running backs? Don't you have any in Michigan that you can go recruit that aren't, or maybe they're all maybe they're not, maybe they are, I don't know. But yeah, so I like that. And then shortly after that, we get another crystal ball from the dean. And if Bill Kurlick drops a crystal ball, you can put that in your pocket and take it to the bank 99% of the time. Bill Kurlick is the most conservative analyst that I know of. I like him so much better than Steve Wilfong and Tom Loy. If he says something, he doesn't put it out there if he doesn't know, I feel like. And so Jordan Davison to Ohio State, crystal ball from Bill Kurlick. So visit from Bo Jackson, crystal ball for Jordan Davison. Is there any, I think this needs to be a 3 running back class. I'm on that train. It's a light room. I like who we have, but I do feel like they, after this year, Q can go to the NFL, and I think he will. Trey will go. He's a senior. So you come into next year with James Peoples, Sam Williams-Dixon, TC Caffey, so I'd like to, and if you're a recruit, you're looking at that going, okay, so like I'm one injury away from playing major time. and probably getting more reps than I even expected to. So, anyone on your list you'd like to see come in?
Well, I know you named two here. I'm going to take one of them.
You take them.
I love Mills Knight, man.
Okay.
I love that kid. He is what the walk-on coach Sir Lachlan preaches about when he mentions toughness. Kid is big. He's
Hmm.
fast. Um, and he's nasty.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Beanie a little bit.
Yeah. So Shakai Mills Knight, and he is highly interested in Ohio State. I don't know if you pull him in a 3 running back class, but he is really interested in Ohio State. So, and I like him. Beanie Wells is an excellent 1-to-1 comparison.
Yeah. I
Um,
really, really like the kid. I wouldn't be surprised, Chad, if our third running back comes out of the portal after
mm,
these guys sign. I
possibly.
just don't. I don't know if I'm Bo Jackson and Jordan Davison if I'm up for being in a 3-person class.
Yeah, so they're two different backs. Like Bo Jackson and Jordan Davis are two entirely different types of running back. But yeah, I could see the third being a little off-putting, so I get that. And I put De'Aaron Hill on my list out of Illinois. Um, he's not I haven't I what I can see he's not like super interested in Ohio State, but he does have an Ohio State offer. And if you watch his film, there's just there's some kids that just have a second gear that is you don't see always. And when he gets through the line, it's almost like he's 3 steps and then he's at full speed. It's really interesting to watch. If you get a chance to watch his film, he's just somebody that piqued my interest. It's somebody that Ohio State, like every once in a while, you'll hear somebody bring him up because he's not far from here. Illinois is a, what they say when you get to what you see when you get to Indiana, Illinois. So it just it's one of those things that I feel like it makes sense regionally. I don't know if he'd be part of a 3-person class. I think he could probably get a scholars, go in and be the guy at some other program. So, but he's somebody that I was interested in. So,
Well, speaking of running backs and speaking of film, I'm going to crush your dreams here a little bit.
no,
And I put this in text the other day. Man, I'm underwhelmed by Jordan Davison's film.
oh, boo,
I mean,
boo.
I'm underwhelmed. And you talk about that second gear. I just saw him get tackled 15, 20 yards down the field a lot.
Mm.
A lot. And I saw more, untouched touchdown runs inside the 10-yard line of any high school film I've seen in a long time. So I don't know, man. I need to dig into him a lot more. I know, obviously, we're really, really high on him. I know he's a modern day kid. I know he's, until he started getting crystal ball to Ohio State, he was actually rated the number 1 back in the country for a
Yep.
long time by a lot of services. He's now he's dropped out of the top 10 for some of them. I don't know if that's because he stopped going to camps or he committed to the wrong All-Star game, which all of the above
All of
influences
it matters.
rankings. But I just need to dig in more, man, because I just don't see. I wasn't wowed.
Okay. We all have our own things, man.
I mean, why
It's
do
just
you like him? What did you see?
so I've just he I look for a couple different things, and like I said, Bo Jackson is a different type of running back than Jordan Davidson. Jordan Davidson is quick and thin through the hole. So there's a couple guys that I've seen be able to do that. Nick Chubb's one of them, where he can get skinny and he's got quick feet in the hole. And yeah, I will agree with you. I don't know that he has the like extra burst, but he's still pretty quick. But like he's gonna grind you out 7 yards, and he can get that. That's what I like about him. And so there's certain types of kids that do certain things really well, and he's just one of those guys that can like the way he can maneuver his body to get through a hole that isn't there. reminds me of Nick Chubb with the quick feet and getting skinny through the hole. And that was something as a running, and you know this, as running backs, you know, in today's game, because we don't play a lot of fullbacks, you need the ability to do that in the ace set.
Yeah, and to be fair, when I was watching this film, I almost that thought crossed my mind. Like, is that? It almost seemed like that's what he was highlighting in his film
Mm-hmm.
is how quick he got through the hole
Yep.
and that. And so you're probably onto something there. It just
I usually am.
for somebody that was rated at one point the number one running back in the country. Hey, I'll go ahead and do that for you.
Yeah.
I just expected more for him to be more dynamic.
Yeah, I could understand that. I think I think your point of view is excellent. I don't disagree with you that he does get caught from behind. And I wanted to I should have looked at his 40 time before we started talking about this. But
and the other thing too that I noticed is that he really seemed to search out the sideline. Like as soon as he got through the hole, he was bolting to the sideline and then trying to run up the side. I'm not saying he was looking to run out of bounds. He wasn't. I want to be clear on that. But he had a nose for the sideline, and really liked to bounce things outside as soon as he could. So just look at that next time you watch it.
Yep, can do. All right, guys. Well, Dan, anything else, man? We covered a lot of territory today, so we bounced around a little bit.
Man, I feel bad. I should have my Preds jersey on to commemorate their comeback tonight. But
Yeah.
now looking forward to our mashup next Tuesday with Terry. Terry's a good guy.
Big friend and fan of the show for sure.
Yeah, I'm in a couple chat groups with him, and he's always got our back. He's always got my back in there, so I appreciate him.
Yeah,
he's a good dude. So looking forward to that on Tuesday.
Yep. So Tuesday we will be doing another mashup. Yep. Terry from College Football Stop will be stopping in and joining us. No pun intended there on the stops, but yeah, we're looking forward to that. We actually already have our show laid out, and so we'll be doing that, and it'll be coming at you. And we have some hot topics and some fun we're going to have. And so on that note, we mentioned it last time. If you are a recruit, a parent of a recruit, we don't need any third uncles. But if you'd like to come on the show, we'd be happy to have you talk about what it's like to be in today's day and age, having a child who's being recruited nationally. We have heard, some folks. We've been fortunate enough to have Deetra Sanchez, on some other pods and get to hear their perspective about what it's like. So, if you'd like to do that, we're more than happy to do that. We like to do mashups too. We are not contractually obligated to not have anyone on our show, so we can kind of do what we want. And with that, Dan, I guess that's going to do it for us today, man. Go Predators tonight, and you guys stay safe out there. Have a great weekend, and as always, go Bucks.